By the end of this video, you'll know how to build your first research and scraping AI agent that automatically fetches the latest tech and AI news every day and send it to your inbox or any platform of your choice, keeping you always up to date. We'll build the whole thing with absolutely no code. So even if you have no coding background, it's super easy to follow, and I'll explain every step of the way with minimal technical jargon. We'll also run a version of the AI agent which scrapes and fetches stock market news, including congressional trade information, to show you the possible different use cases of the same workflow. So we're going to build this workflow on n8n. And for those of you who are new to n8n, think of it as an automation platform that lets you connect apps and AI tools together, sort of like a digital Lego blocks. You can drag, drop, and connect nodes to create workflows that do all the heavy lifting for you, without touching a single line of code. And I've covered how to get set up on n8n quite extensively on my other videos, which I'll link up here and down in the description below. But just for the benefit of those who are new to n8n, I'm just going to quickly run through how you could actually get signed up and get your environment set up so you can start building. So the first thing you do is just to head over to n8n.io and hit get started. And you can actually sign up for a free trial for 14 days and just to play around with n8n and see if that's for you. And once you have all your information filled in, you can simply hit start 14-day free trial. And you're going to have a couple of onboarding questions to answer, but it's pretty simple and you can get over it pretty quickly. You can skip the invite team members for now and then just wait a couple of seconds or minutes for the workspace to start spinning up. And once you're ready, you can go into the workspace and start building. And I typically prefer a dark background, so what you can do is to just go over to settings here and basically scroll down to the theme right here and toggle over to dark theme and hit save. And there we go, it's dark theme now. I mean, just easy on the eyes for me. So what you want to do if this is your first time on n8n, just hit start from scratch. All right, so the first thing you want to do here is to head over to the top right hand corner and hit the plus sign. And what you want to tap into the field right here is the schedule trigger. And essentially what we're doing here, we're setting a trigger node, which is basically the node or the event that we specify would be the trigger for the workflow. So in this case, we want it to trigger automatically every day. So here you see that it's a scheduled trigger, and basically we're specifying that it is going to be triggered every day, one day in between. And the trigger hour that I want to choose is 9 a.m. because that's the time when I want to get all my daily updates, etc. And you can obviously change this later on once you set up the workflow, etc. It's all very flexible. So I'm going to just hit execute step so this all gets populated, the information. As you can see, it's generating some information here as to the current date, time. So there isn't really a lot of information that comes with a schedule trigger, but what you want to do on the second node here is to hit the plus sign and go over to AI agent. And if you don't have the option showing up, what you can do, let me just delete that, is also just to type in AI agent and you can actually choose the node here. So this is the agent that's going to do the research for you. So we're just going to call it research AI agent, and it's going to be triggered daily. And what we want to do is, because this is not a chat trigger that is connected to this particular AI agent, we want to choose define below. And as you can see, it says define a prompt. So the agent requires a user prompt which tells it what to do, right? So the same way you would chat with ChatGPT, this is a prompt where you would fill in your instructions as to what it needs to do. So what I've done here is I have pasted in a specific fix instruction because it's going to be the same every day. What I want it to do is to give me today's top technology and AI news updates and focus on meaningful developments on AI, software, hardware, etc. Right? And then we also want to specify a system prompt. So a system prompt is basically a prompt that defines the role of the AI agent. So the way we can do that is to hit add option and select system message. And right now, as you can see by default, it says you are a helpful assistant. So we want to be more specific than this. So what I did was basically go to ChatGPT and tell it act as a system prompt engineer and generate a prompt that is going to optimize the research AI agent within n8n. And what it spits out to me is basically this whole chunk right here. I'm going to toggle this to expression and blow it up so you can see the whole thing. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but just to give you a sense of how it's just better to get an LLM like ChatGPT or Cloud or whatnot to generate the system prompt for you is because they are going to be super comprehensive, right? So for example, it'll say you're a tech AI new research assistant, your role is da-da-da. So these are the tools. Decodo is a tool that I'm going to append or attach later on, and it'll make a lot more sense once you see that. But essentially, we are giving an example of the websites that it should scrape. So TechCrunch, The Verge, Wired, MIT Technology Review. So these are the websites that I wanted to go and use Decodo as a scraping tool to scrape these websites. And of course, I'm also going to specify a couple of rules here. Mandatory tool use. I wanted to always use the Decodo tool to scrape, and so to make sure that I'm getting the latest tech news information, as well as be concise when outputting to me. And also I wanted to keep within 350 words because I don't want it to be too long. I want it to be a concise summary. And then email ready format because I want this to be sent to my email inbox every day. So that's the system prompt. And before we hit execute step to trial run the research AI agent, what we want to do is to attach a chat model. So a chat model is basically the brain behind this AI agent, right? So this is the brain that's going to operate the core function of this agent. So what I want to do here is to hit create new credential. And again, I've covered this in my previous videos, but I'm just going to run it through very quickly so everybody knows how to set this up. So I'm using OpenAI as the LLM of choice. So what I want to do is to get an API key, right? The way I could do that is actually go over to platform.openai.com, and I'm already logged in, but if you haven't, just get signed up. And if you want to know how all of that works step by step, I'm going to link my video up here and down in the description below, where I run you through step by step on how to set this up. But essentially, once you're in here, what you want to do is head over to API keys. And as you can see, I've got a bunch of API keys set up, but yours is probably going to look empty if it's the first time you're signing into OpenAI. And so what you want to do is to hit create new secret key. In this case, I'm going to put n8n demo research agent key. So you can name it anything, right? And I'm going to hit create key, and I'm going to copy the API key right here. Of course, I'm going to revoke it afterwards so people don't use it without my consent. So go back to your credential here and paste in the API key. And I'm going to toggle this to expression so you can see the full API key that I've just basically copy pasted into here. Organizational ID is optional, so you don't have to really fill that in. Everything else you can leave as is, and you can hit save. And it's going to show a green bar right here saying that the connection was tested and it was successful, so you know that your OpenAI account is connected to your n8n. So now the next thing you want to do is to select from the list of models what kind of GPT models you want to use. And in this case, I'm going to use a GPT-5 because that's the most advanced model. And I'm going to just use GPT-5. And there we go. Now the OpenAI chat model is connected there. So for memory, you have the option of attaching a simple memory, which is easy to set up. However, for this case, just to keep everything super simple, I'm just going to skip that step because technically you're refreshing it daily. It doesn't need a memory to stay in context. But just a quick explainer on what it does. Simple memory basically gives it a historical record of what is done in the past. So it's super useful if you're chatting with it so that it knows kind of what's the information that's been exchanged. But in this case, because it's just doing one thing every day, you don't really need it. So I'm just going to skip over that. So the tool that I want to use here is obviously the scraping Decodo tool. But because it is a community node, what you want to do is actually hit the plus sign on the top right hand corner here and basically type in Decodo. And as you can see, the scraper API tool showed up. And you're going to have to install the node before you can actually start using it. So I'm going to just hit install. It says package installed here, and let's try using it now with the tool. I'm going to type in Decodo. So now it shows up as the Decodo tool. I'm going to hit that, and now it's connected to the AI agent. The description of the tool is simply Decodo Scraper API. We've already, if you recall, in the system prompt mentioned the Decodo tool. I'm going to blow this up as the tool to use. Right? Always use the Decodo tool for all research and content extraction. So it knows to use the Decodo API or the Decodo tool as the scraper. Now, obviously, Decodo is an external third-party tool. So what you want to do is also set up a credential the same way you would with OpenAI. So I'm going to hit create new credential. And where you want to go here is head over to decodo.com. And what you want to do is to create an account. I already have an account created, so I'm just going to hit login. Now, Decodo is a paid tool. So essentially, you'll need a subscription on Decodo to be able to use the scrape APIs. The reason why for me Decodo is a very effective scraping tool is because unlike many scrapers out there, Decodo is built to handle messy stuff in the background. It sidesteps capture and navigates complex sites and reliably fetches data without you hitting roadblocks. That means less time troubleshooting and more time actually getting insights that you want. But if you haven't made up your mind and you just want to explore a little bit more and try out Decodo, take it for a spin, what you can do is to use the coupon code AutomatedWithMark, which gives you more than 80% off in your first month. So it's only $5 for you to start exploring Decodo and see if it fits your use case. So hit the link in the description below and apply the coupon code to get affordable access to Decodo. And once your account is set up and you're signed in, where you want to hit to is go over to scraping right here on the left-hand bar. Click on the drop-down, and where you want to go is to go to Web Advanced. And this might look a little bit technical to some of you, but don't worry about it. All you need to do is basically just hit the copy to clipboard from the basic OAuth token right here, right at the top. And what you want to do is go back to your workflow and paste the basic OAuth token into the field right here. I'm going to toggle this to expression so you can see, but of course, I'm going to revoke this afterwards and hit save, and the green bar shows up. It says connection tested successfully, and we're good to go. So as you can see, there are two fields right here that you need to fill in. The first one is the URL, and the second one is a geolocation. The URL is basically the URLs that you want Decodo to scrape. The AI already knows that because we've already put into the system prompt which are the website that it needs to scrape. So what we want to do is to hit the button here, basically letting the model define which are the URLs that it's going to try to scrape. At geolocation, we will also let the AI describe this because that's going to decide where the location of the IP address that it's going to start scraping from. So once we do that, we can toggle out. And what we can do now is just hit execute step. It's going to do a trial run. And then what it does is, as you can see, it's going into Decodo, is using the tool, and it's calling it a couple different times because it's going through all the websites and scraping it out to give you the latest tech and AI news update. And so now it's done doing that. So if you go into the node again, double click it, you can see that the output is essentially the news that we're going to receive. And of course, the structure of which looks a little bit messy right now, but it's looking messy because this is going to be parsed into the email that's going to be sent to our inbox. So I'm not going to look too much into it right now. What I want to do is to go out to the workflow and hit the plus button here and add a Gmail node because we want to send a message to my email, right? So in this case, I don't have any credential set up. What I want to do is to create a new credential for the Gmail, and if you're using n8n Cloud, it's super easy. Basically, all you need to do is to hit sign in with Google, and a Google sign in pop-up will show up. Just go through that, and your account will be connected by the end of it. All right, cool. So now we've connected that. What we want to do is we want it to send to automate with mark@gmail.com, which is my email. And again, this is going to be triggered every day. Every day I'm going to receive one email with the updates of the tech news and AI news of the day. So the subject would be tech news update, or maybe tech and AI news update. And we're going to parse the output into message here. Email type, we're going to keep it as HTML. I'm going to hit execute step. All right, cool. So as you can see, this is sent successfully. So what we want to do is toggle over to my email. And so this is the email that I receive in my inbox. So it says, today's tech and AI briefing. So as you can see, some of the tech stuff, OpenAI as shopping inside of ChatGPT. I actually did not know that. Is that really? Okay. So as you can see, it does have the links attached. So cool. Actually, I'm learning something new just from running the workflow today. And of course, these are just summaries of the new headlines that I might want to know or might be interested in. But in order to get a more detailed breakdown of what that is, go into the link and you can ask it to do a bit more research and stuff like that. So I actually just want to quickly show you how the use cases of the Research AI agent can be flexible. So I've actually duplicated the same workflow with the schedule trigger, the AI research agent, the same kind of notes, and the send message note to the emails. But the difference is when I go into the AI research agent, you'll see that both the user prompt and the system prompt are now gearing towards stock market research assistant news, right? So for example, the user prompt would say, give me today's key stock market updates, because now I want to use this particular workflow to give me updates of the stock market, because that's going to affect how I maybe position my portfolio and stuff like that. Or maybe it's just a typical, portfolio update that I want to get on the daily, right? So in this case, the only changes are basically on the user prompt and the system prompt, which is really just the purpose of the role. The tools remains the same because the Decodo tool is used for scraping. One neat little thing that I've added to it is I wanted to actually scrape some of the websites like Bloomberg Market, CNBC. So these are pretty popular stock market news websites. But even websites like QuiverQuant, for example, which in case you guys don't know, actually cover congressional trading. So basically tradings done by Congress members in the United States Congress, because obviously they have access to information that civilians don't typically have access to. So, it'll be interesting to kind of keep track as to what are the stocks that they've been buying and selling. So you can actually have Decodo scrape websites like these to give you some additional information as to what politicians are doing with their stock portfolio. So again, websites like these typically have some captcha protection to make sure that you're not a bot. So Decodo actually does a very good job sidestepping these type of things. That's the main reason why I feel Decodo has an edge over other scrapers that may be also used for the same use case. Yep, so going back to the workflow, what we want to do is just to hit execute step here. Okay, so that took a little while to load, but essentially it dips into Decodo 8 times. So I'm just going to hit the play button right on top of the Gmail node. So what it does is it's going to load the node and basically send a message or send the email to my email, right? So taking a look at the summary of the stock market that is sending into my email. So you can see the US stock markets, the S&P index, NASDAQ, global sector commodities, company news, specific company news, and congressional trading, Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene, broad ASML, Google, etc. So that's pretty interesting. Maybe, time to look into those stocks as well. Not financial advice, but I think this workflow is going to be super useful to just keep you updated on what's going on in the stock market. But the point is, you can use these workflows for different type of use cases for research and daily intelligence news that's been delivered right into your email or any other platforms that you spend most of your time on. So if you're on Slack, you can absolutely push it to Slack, or if you're on Telegram, you can push that to Telegram as well. So I have previously covered scraping use cases like these in my past video, and I'll link it right up here in my description below too. But this is just a super simple workflow that I feel anybody who's beginners or who have absolutely no coding background can put together in under 15 minutes. All right, so that's it for today's video. And of course, if you're interested in exploring Decodo, feel free to use the promo code Automate with Mark for more than 80% off on your first month. So it's just going to be $5 for you to start using it and just play around with it. And I know it's a simple workflow, but I also link the free template of the workflow below, so you can actually just load it up on your n8n cloud instance so you can start playing around with it. If you think the video is useful, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.